Okay, friends, let's look at one way to measure consistency mathematically. I mean, it's one thing to look at a bunch of numbers and say that, okay, these are more consistent than these, but sometimes you have to actually measure that, right? You have to put a number to it. So here's one way you can do that. This is Brooke Robitus's scores. She placed 5th overall, which I know might not seem great when there's only 8 people and she finished 5th, but this is one competition, and this young lady has been climbing at a very high level since she was about 9 years old. So these scores I don't think represent necessarily what she's capable of doing, like outside in a real rock climbing scenario. Doesn't matter. She finished 5th overall. These were her 3 scores. Here's one way to measure consistency mathematically. Start by taking the 3 scores and finding the average. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find the average. Okay, now we've talked about this before in class. To find the average of 3 numbers, you add them up and then divide by how many there are. So you're going to do 7 plus 2 plus 6, 3 numbers, and then divide by 3 because there's 3 of them. 7 plus 2 is 9, plus 6 is 15. That's 15 over 3, which means Brooke's average is 5. Her average score is 5. Now notice, she didn't actually have any 5s, but her average is 5. And that's what happens with averages sometimes. Like the average number of children in the United States is not a whole number. It's a fractional number. And that's because even though you can't have a fractional number of children, on average, it balances out to a fractional number. Okay, so that's her average. Now, a way to measure consistency or inconsistency, depending on how you want to look at it, is to see how far each of these numbers is away from that average. So let's start. Let's just go through the speed, and then the bouldering, and then the lead scores. Okay, so we know she has a 7 here, a 2 here, and a 6 here. I'm going to need a little bit more space real quick here. That's much better. Okay, now what you're going to do is you're just going to look at each of these numbers and tell me how far away they are from the average of 5. Like, for example, her score in the speed competition was 7. That's 2 away from 5. Now, when I say away, I'm not talking about is it below or above. I'm just talking about if it's away. Distance away. How about 2? How far is 2 away from 5? Well, it's 3 away. And how far is 6? It's 1 away. So when you look at this, you have these things right here, which are called, they're officially called deviations from average. You don't have to worry about that. It's just distances, right? 7 is 2 away from 5, 2 is 3 away from 5, and 6 is 1 away from 5. One way to measure consistency is to simply add those numbers up. Brooke gets 6. That's the sum of her deviations, which is one way of looking at it. What I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you look at the other 3rd and 4th place finishers and see how their deviations worked.